Udaya. Namo Namaha. Bahu Samichnam. Punah Milamaha.
Punah Milamaha.
Yeah, Dhanyavad Vijay ji and Pranay ji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. And today we are going to explore into the universe of selfishness. So over to you, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, sir. Good morning, good evening, everybody. Radhe Radhe. Very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So today we will continue on the journey that we are having on Shloka 4.19, where enlightened sage, as they've been referred to in the Shloka, as you see that they are the ones who every action is free from the desire for material pleasures. And we saw what is the fundamental mistake that we do to begin with, which keeps on compounding throughout our lifetimes and across lifetimes as well, where we consider ourselves as a body and then go on to form desires around the logical extensions of our body, which extends to our relative and all the things that you can relate to body only. They have nothing to do with the soul as such, which is our true identity. And today we're going to look at the desire aspect of it, the desire which manifests in different ways. We all have a bubble. It all starts the bubble of the self-interest that we are trying to fulfill. And those are the bubbles we are going to discuss. What category of desire they fall into and what it leads to basically. And we're going to have an engaging discussion on that as well. So without much ado, let's get started with our opening prayers and then we'll get deeper into the topic for discussion today. Hope you all had a great weekend. Happy to be back and hope the feeling is mutual. So let's get started. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's get started on the same Shloka 4.19. I'm recite it and then you're welcome to follow it. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. All right.
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Ashutosh ji.
I'm unable to unmute him.
You're not able to? Even I'm not able to. Okay, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Ashutosh ji.
Radhe Ashutosh ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha.
Wonderful. Very nice, Ashutosh ji. Radhe Radhe.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Sam ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kam sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Sam ji. Wonderful.
Wait. Can you see whose hands are raised? I can't see for some reason.
Okay, Riya ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tam ahu panditam buddhaha.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe. Rupa ji. Are you able to see now?
Yeah. Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rupa ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha.
Very nice. Rupaji, looks like you still look at the English translation, not yet on the Sanskrit word.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not comfortable with Hindi that much. Telugu, if I see, I'll rock it.
Okay, no worries. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Pragi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
Radhe Radhe. Sorry.
No worries.
Yasya sarva samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnana agni dagda karmanam tama panditam buddha.
Very nice, Pragi ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
All right, we have a couple of more hands. Asha ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe to everyone.
Asha ji.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha.
Wonderful. Very nice, Asha ji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Somesh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe Nitin ji.
Somesh ji.
Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha.
Wonderful, Somesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we can take two more. Let's quickly do that.
Shyam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Shyam ji, today's your lucky day. All right, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Thank you, Shyam ji. All right, Payal ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha काम संकल्प वर्जितः ज्ञानाग्नि दग्ध कर्माणं तमाहु पंडितः बुद्धः. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Panditam Buddha. Very nice. No worries. All right. No worries. All right. Very nice. Last one. Okay, Lakshmi ji, we can take you as well, and then we can.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lakshmi ji. So the short translation for this goes like, when sages call those persons wise whose every action is free from the desire from material pleasures and who have burnt the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. So we are looking at the other case. Actions, why they are not free from desires, why we are away from being called as wise by enlightened people. That is what we are analyzing. And then we will get into the enlightened people, how their karmas and the desire for material pleasure has been usurped in the fire of knowledge. That is the next part of it. But we're looking at the other end. Because we are not wise, I mean, I should say I'm not wise. Maybe a lot of us are. So, but when we crave for material pleasure and those desires are there, that is what our scriptures are telling us, that when you crave for that, and then it is called not enlightened in the fire of knowledge as yet. Okay. And today we will look at how these desires manifest. And that is a concept we are going to discuss in detail today. So as you can see, there are a lot of bubbles here. Okay. This is the bubble of selfishness. Everybody has. Some has a smaller one, some has a bigger one, some has a much bigger one. You keep on expanding it, but it is still in the circle of selfishness, or possibly a little more than that is what we are going to discuss that. So there are two kinds of selfishness actually. Broadly speaking, categorization is the concentrated one and then expanded selfishness. So let's begin this by talking about the types of desires you have. Okay, the desires that invariably fall into two categories. One is the kama sankalpa that we do. Okay. The other one is called the seva sankalpa that we do. Okay, in both the cases, we are desiring something. So what is the difference? The kama sankalpa, in this desire, the Jivatma thinks, I want to enjoy. How can I enjoy? That's the motive. And in the other one, the Jivatma thinks that how can I serve? How can I give others happiness through my service? Both kind of desires could be there. Okay. And it is not black and white. There are shades of gray there as well. We cannot say somebody operates in Kama Sankalp or Seva Sankalp. It could be a hybrid, right? It can keep on varying throughout our lifetimes as well. Or as we gain more, consciousness, awareness around some of the principles of spirituality as well. So it can vary. However, this is how it is broadly classified as. Now let's look at, let's build on it. Now, anything a person does is driven by some kind of a desire. We have spoken about this topic in more detail, and that desire is for happiness. That is an irrefutable, impelling desire each one of us has. So the motivation is always there, and that desire is born out of some kind of an endeavor to get that elusive happiness that we are seeking. Now, for accomplishing anything in this world, we need these four potencies. What are those four potencies? Let's look at it. The first one is the Ichha Shakti, the power of desire, of course, that we're talking about. The second one is the Jnana Shakti. You need knowledge. Just Ichha is not going to take us far. We need knowledge for that as well. The third potency that we need is the Bal Shakti, the physical, mental exertion that might be needed. And the fourth one is the Kriya Shakti, the power to act. If you have all of this, in fact, even for a small sankalp, you need all that stuff. We've spoken about it, right? Just to create a pot. If a potter has to create a pot, you need the instrument, you need the material, you need a desire, you need a skill, and then you need to put it to action as well, right? All the things have to fall in place. Invariably, they fall into these four categories. So these are the four potencies that are needed whenever we have to fulfill some kind of a desire, which could invariably fall into any of these two categories that we previously spoke about. It could be a desire, a Kam Sankalp, something you want to do for yourself, or it could be a Seva Sankalp. But regardless, you need to have these four potencies that would be required to fulfill that. Okay. Now, moving further, let's look at the Kama Sankalp to begin with. Kama Sankalp. Now, you would come across that, or you can relate to that. So, as you can see, these bubbles that I'm talking about. There is a concentrated selfishness where you have a small bubble. It's just limited to I, me, myself. And then there is an expanded selfishness that we are going to talk about as well. Okay, you just expand that bubble a little more, although it is still selfishness. So let's get started with the first one, which is called Kama Sankalp on the concentrated selfishness. So typically what you feel about this kind of a scenario is that you are the center of the universe. People think they are the center of the universe. Okay. And this entire universe is created to fulfill their desires. I'm sure you would have come across some people there. It happens. It's a primal instinct. If you look at animals, they have this instinct, and that is where we inherit it. And that is a very natural thing, especially in the early age part of our life. Some people have very strong sanskars. They are givers right from the word go. But this is an instinct that comes to us to begin with, right? I, me, myself. What is in it for me? That's the first thing that will come. And it happens. It's a very natural thing. It's not something to be feel bad about, but as long as we are able to channelize it for our true growth, that may be an advantage actually. And this is called a concentrated selfishness. Let's look a little further on the mechanics of how it manifests and unfolds. What is actually at play here? So, like I said, this is a concentrated selfishness where you think you are the center of the universe. Now, there are different occupational activities in terms of man's different conceptions of life. There are different things that they get engaged in. Now, to the gross materialist who cannot see anything beyond the gross material body, there is nothing beyond the senses. Okay, in this kind of a mindset, you don't see anything beyond the senses or the body. It just centers around personal body, and this is generally seen amongst the lower animals as well. It is a primal instinct where all you care for is to take care of your body and senses and nothing beyond that. We don't care about anything more than that. And if we have spent our entire life just catering to our body and senses alone, then it's not a good spot to be in, basically. So why I'm calling it a primal instinct is because I'll tell you a story. It happened in 2017 only, of basically a family which used to raise a baby python. Okay, so they raised a baby python when it was a baby, right from initial. They would feed him, take care of, and everything. And when it started growing bigger and bigger, one day that python came over to the place where women of the house, she would rest or take sleep. And he slept close to her and stretched itself from head to toe, such that it touched her from her head to toe. Just curled her up around itself. And the owners, they loved it. They thought, the snake is bonding with her, and as it would stretch, sprawl, curl itself to touch the owner's body. And what happened that soon after what this started happening, the owners also observed another thing, that the python had stopped eating. It continued for days. And then the owners, they got worried and they took the python to the veterinary doctor. By the way, my dad is also a vet. So when he took them to a vet, then nothing was wrong in his daily routine. But when they told him about the vet, about that he was stretching like this every day, and then it has not been eating as well, the vet told them immediately to leave it in the zoo. He told that the python was actually stretching itself to size up the body of the owner and see if it can eat the owner up. And it was the reason it was not eating or fasting was because it was preparing itself for the next big meal. And sprawling and curling was only a dress rehearsal. Now, would you fault the python for that? Of course not. They are driven by their primal instincts because they are animals. Similarly, if let's say you are raising a tiger or a lion, and in a zoo, if it is feeling hungry and it ends up eating somebody or attacking somebody, would you find fault in that? We cannot. They are scripted that way. They have those primal instincts. However, as humans, if we simply live for ourselves, if we simply cater to our needs of our body and senses, then it is a big disservice we are doing to ourselves. Okay, that is what our scriptures are telling us. Ahar, bhay, nidra, right? They say those 4 or 5 primal activities that we do: eating food, sleeping, defending, and creating progeny, right? Even animals do that. There's no difference between us and animals in that case. So humans are expected to grow their bubble, not just limited to being selfish alone. That is said, right? If we don't think about ourselves, who else will? But if that is the only thing we do, then who are we? So it is expected to go beyond that part of it. So this is another reason where we continue to desire, because we want to cater to our body and senses, because we have already made the fundamental mistake of thinking ourselves as our body only. We think giving body what it needs is going to satiate our thirst for the bliss, perfect bliss that we are seeking through our senses or through our body. It will help. And then we start thinking of the bodily associates, the whole world that is around us, our family and everything, as our permanent associates that are going to give us bliss, and start creating that drama lifetime after lifetime in our mind. So that is the first part. It is called concentrated. It's not that somebody can lead a life entirely like that, but predominantly, if that is the emotion, we don't go beyond that, and then it is the biggest disservice we have done to our spiritual growth or spiritual journey. Now, beyond that comes our another type of selfishness, where you extend the bubble. You're increasing the scope of the bubble, which is good. Now, it gets manifested in human society around the world. As you can see, the society, the community, nation, world. However, it is still related to the first kind of a sankalpa that we've been talking about, the kama sankalpa. It is very important to understand that even though we have expanded the bubble here, right? You see the bubble is expanding. Now, you can expand it in your mental sphere, and all the isms that are created, there are so many isms that are created in this world, right? They are nothing but an extension of this concentrated selfishness to the another level. It's a very hard statement. Let's think through it today. And that is still limited to body and the mind. Okay. It's not taking us any further than that. Of course, you have expanded the bubble. You're not limiting your thought to yourself alone. You have started thinking about your family. Somebody has started thinking about the community. Somebody has started thinking about the country. Somebody has started thinking about the global warming. You can take it to the next level. Now, has it taken us beyond the selfishness of body and mind? Scriptures tell us no. Tomorrow we will discuss, by the way, the three different kind of obsessions that we can get into in this world. We will have a deep discussion around those tomorrow. But for today, let's get into some of these concepts and have an understanding of what we feel, because some of these concepts, they just come in our mind and reside and sit without we having truly dissected it to understand where is it stemming from and where is it going to lead us. Okay, I'm going to touch upon some topic, and they can be a little discomforting as well, because we take a lot of pride in some of that stuff as well. So again, we spoke about that the selfishness is born out of our conception of our identity as this body and mind, nothing beyond that, and senses at best. So some of the expanded selfishness, that's where we're going to have a bit of a discussion around it. Casteism, regionalism, nationalism, patriotism, jingoism, Marxism, socialism, capitalism. These isms are nothing but born out of expanded selfishness and nothing more than that. Let's have a bit of a discussion on it. I can pick up one, maybe the Marxism, socialism, capitalism, and then patriotism, jingoism is where I wanted to have a bit of a discussion to see where does it fall into, and we'll try to put it in perspective, because people can have a tendency to spend their entire life around having a belief system which really doesn't help from a spiritual standpoint. Now, can it fall into an expanded selfishness? Is it, first of all, my first question is it Kam Sankalp or Seva Sankalp? Or it could be either. Anybody who wants to take that question? We spoke about two kind of Sankalp in desire, right? Kam Sankalp, where you're thinking about yourself. The other one is Seva Sankalp. Now, which category, let's say, patriotism falls into? I'll come into some other things later. But let's say patriotism, does it fall into Kama Sankalp for yourself, or does it fall into Seva Sankalp where you're doing it for somebody else? We like to discuss, right, the state of affair in our country, and we get hypercharged about, our politicians have ruined our country. Where do you think it falls into? Anybody?
Shall I?
Yes, please. You have the privilege, Sandhya, today to call on yourself.
It can be in either category, depends upon our consciousness. Like, of course, if we are looking, but most of the times it is in the Kam Sankalp category, because we associate our identity with a particular nation, and it is our nation. So where we are born, or, our people, and, so I think it is that expanded selfishness concept.
Yeah, true. Anybody has an alternate opinion about it? It's not a straightforward answer for sure.
Shyamji has raised hand. Radhe Radhe, Shyamji.
Yes, Shyamji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I think it's more of a calm seva. It's personal belief, what I think, especially in India. People do all those things to satisfy their own self. They do not cater to the larger society, but whether see any politicians, political activity happening, just focus on their own self first, and that is how they try to satiate their inner self, inner activities. What I feel, maybe I'm right or wrong, but as I live in the society, I see that because one will see around politicians are mostly concerned about their own selves. They hardly care what people are, what people do, what people live, what are their needs or requirements. They mostly satisfy their own self through this world called patriotism, or whatever you call it. That's how I feel. Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
So many wars are also fought, right, under that, where you take your nationalism to call jingoism as well. It can actually border on fanaticism as well. So many wars have been fought on the name of religion as well. Religionism is there as well. Regionism is there as well. So,
yeah, as you see the case in China or North Korea, or of lately Putin, Russia and Ukraine, I guess it's more of their own self than the larger picture. Because had they been seeing larger picture, it wouldn't have happened in the first place.
But let's say I'm born in a family where my ancestors were freedom fighters, and I want to join army because I want to serve my motherland. Then which category would it fall into? There are two kinds of people. One who will do something, okay, who have the opportunity to go and fight the war on the borders. That is one. Second is who will sit and talk about it, right? Because they are not in that situation. Either they didn't pick that as an option, or they didn't get that opportunity, but they are worried. They are simply worried about the state of the affairs of their country. And they don't like when somebody touches upon their religion, or does a disservice, or the things like, the population of people who follow their religion is shrinking in the world. What kind of category do they fall into, basically, is what I'm asking. Is it something which is uplifting in any sense? Does it fall into selfishness? Does it fall into Kam Sankalp or Seva Sankalp? What category would it fall into, basically?
Seva Sankam is always there, as we see, but the picture larger number of people are not in Seva Sankam. Very few people are there, like you see saints also, people like Maharaji or Swamiji or any other saints we had in the past. There are people like them, but on the larger picture, people who come forward, I would say, are more like calm. They want to satisfy their own selves than the larger picture.
Correct.
What I feel so.
Sure. Let's hear from others as well. I can see a couple of other hands.
Yeah, Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Ramya.
Radhe Radhe. I feel that patriotism is not bad, it's good. But again, it depends on internally what the person is thinking. Like a soldier, you said, he loves his country, he wants to protect his people, and all that is fine. But internally, he has this limited thing that, I love only my country, like other countries and all, I don't like them and all. And I see a lot of things that, there is a hype that, you go desi in a way that even the medicines that you take, the allopathic medicines, they are criticized like, they are good for nothing. They always have side effects. You should only go for Ayurveda and all. But there are pros and cons in everything. And like internally, if the person may be thinking that, yeah, the other nations are also my people. It is like seeing as a world is one view, and that is good while you're a patriot. But you're a patriot in a sense that you are excluding everything else, and you get biased only to a specific thing, like a horse. If you want it to go only a single direction, and you put something towards the side of its eyes so that it doesn't look around it and it looks only one way. I feel that kind is not good.
No, that's fair point. Good. We'll try to reconcile all of that as we go along. I can see one more hand.
Pallavi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe, everyone. So what I think is patriotism is a great virtue. Like it's a very high feeling to have. But again, the soldier who is fighting for his country, he's ready to sacrifice his life for his country. But again, for his country, right? So anyone who is a patriotic is identifying the person is identifying to his nation. So again, it comes to certain selfishness, right? Because I can be only associating, I can love my country only, right? So this is something like, again, my is associated, the one thing which is like we are identifying, this is my country, so I love my country, like that kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of shades actually around it. If you relate it back to the Karam Yog concept of it, right? Now, soldier could be fighting the war, right? Or might has a love for his country born out of, he's born there and he owes it to them. That sense of gratitude is there. That sense of, good feel is there as well. If they're doing it as a sense of their duty because it's his duty to protect his motherland, that could be one way of looking at it. Other could be that it could be stemming from a hatred of the other side as well. So you could be fighting a war where you're driven out of hatred for the other side of the community, not understanding they are also doing the same that you are doing, right? Or you could be fighting a war as a service to God because they are entrusted with this duty like Arjun fought, right? So then it becomes Karam Yoga. So really depends. It really boils down to an individual. We cannot say that, right? Now, patriotism might be what you call a calm sankalp, where you're simply sitting and talking about it. This should happen in the country, politicians, you're not doing anything there. You're just catering to your mind and senses because it stimulates them. Right? It gives them a false sense of pride that you are not entitled to. Because did we do anything to get born in a particular country to feel so proud about? What if we are born in some other country, do we control that? We don't. So what is that sense of entitlement, the pride that we start feeling and start cursing and contemplating and making it an agenda of our life, reading newspapers, talking and everything? It is just a calm sankalp. It becomes a seva sankalp if somebody goes and fight it or does something about it, right? Fighting on the border or does something for it. And it can become even beyond that if you are doing it with an understanding that this is a duty that I've been entrusted to protect my motherland, right? And I'm doing it as a service to God. So all three categories can happen. But simply armchair people who worry too much about their country and make it their agenda to talk about their particular religion and worrying about, hey, our religion is shrinking and some other religion is doing this and that. It is nothing but a calm sankalp and expansion of the concentrated selfishness that we spoke about. Nothing. God is not going to give you a credit for, wow, what a wonderful patriot you were. Wherever you were, you always used to think about your country and your religion. Of course not. Right? There was a guy who did his life regression. He was a Jew. Okay, he did his life regression. He was a Jew. So in the previous life, he was a Christian and he used to hate Jews. So God made him Jew this life. And guess what? In this life, he started hating Muslims. So be very careful when we start getting into that mindset. This category of people are like this, and all right, they might be like that, but that's not our agenda. Our focus is more on the spiritual growth than getting divided with these kind of things, because it is good to think about. We have rin, right? 3 rins that we talk about, but those are again at the bodily platform. When you start attaching with the divine, the higher dharma, then these things take a backseat. And if we spend our entire life, giving ourselves ego massage around how patriot we are, we always think about our country and our religion and talk about it and, worry about it. It's truly not helping. It's nothing but a calm sankalp, just catering to your senses and that expanded bubble that you have created in your mind around the sense of patriotism that we have. And there is no guarantee that we will repeat in the same religion as and when we get human birth. What if God puts us in Somalia? What are we going to do then? No guarantee, right? So our focus should be on the upliftment of our soul more than getting divided in these kind of things in our head. It's good to serve your motherland in whatever capacity you can do, because that is also that is what gave us our formative years and so many resources for us to grow up, right? Which is a noble sentiment. But when we start taking it too far, getting into jingoism, the regionalism, the religionism, all that stuff is something we got to be careful about. Tomorrow we'll do a deep dive into the 3 traps we fall into on this path of spirituality. Okay, and you'll be able to relate to it. Okay, it's going to be an interesting conversation. But then I can see a few more hands raised, and then I'll get into some of these topics as well. Let's hear from who all are there.
Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji and Sandhya ji and everybody. I was going to say the same thing, that spirituality unites and religion divides. And as long as that we remain on the path of approaching Godhead, no matter what paths that we take, then we are on the right path. And if we start to say that my religion is bigger than yours, then that is going to divide. And that's why even at work, we say that don't talk about politics or religion. And the other aspect is that in Mahabharata, Yudhishthir, after having fought the entire war, he has self-doubt. He doesn't want to sit on the throne. He says that, there's been so much bloodshed. And at that point, Krishna Bhagwan is heading out to Dwarka, and he realizes this. He halts the chariot and he says, I'm not going today. And instead he takes the Pandavas over to Bhishma Pitama and tells Bhishma Pitama to give them the knowledge. And Bhishma Pitama tells Yudhishthir that everything transcends the patriotism and one's priority towards the kingdom trumps everything else. Even a vow to yourself or a vow to your friend, which Karn did, or like Duryodhan had selfish interests, or like Dhritarashtra had interests towards his family. All that has to be set aside, and one has to focus on the country. And Krishna Bhagwan has also said that for the sake of a township, a family can be, it goes up. For the sake of a family, a member can be sacrificed. For the sake of a township, a family can be sacrificed. For the sake of a city, a town can be sacrificed. And for that sort of a thing. And ultimately it comes down to, yes, patriotism is good, but it should not become fanaticism. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point, Jyoti. Very nice. And that's where even the modern, if you look at the way it has been negotiated amongst the countries as well, they try to align to these principles as best as they possibly can. Right? So when the soldiers on either side, they are given the state honor, you treat them with respect because they're also doing the duty from their side. They're also fighting for their motherland. That's their duty. And prisoners of wars, they are supposed to be returned back peacefully after the war is over, right? So they try to align to these principles as best as humanly possible. So that is there. But if we start hating somebody, start making that in our mind, this particular community is like this and all that stuff, it is not good for our spiritual growth. That is the key thing. And I see we can fall trap into that. It doesn't help our cause, right? First of all, we don't have a formula to be born in a particular country, particular religion, particular caste, particular situation, particular circumstance, right? We don't dictate that. So when we don't dictate that, what gives us a pride to start talking about? That's fine. That pride is good. You need to feel good about it. But then when we start making it a big deal about it in our head and start hating others, then it is not a recommended thing, at least from a spiritual standpoint. We've got to be cautious about that. That's what our scriptures are saying. And those are the 3 obsessions we are going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, this is, everybody falls into that trap, and I'm sure most of us can relate to that. Those 3 vasanas that our scriptures talk about, obsessions, that invariably we fall into. We need to really guard against those to nurture our spiritual growth. So patriotism is good, but when it becomes a focal point of our life, when we lose the big picture around it, then it can become problematic. And same thing goes with the isms as well. So many isms we subscribe to, right? I'm a Marxist, I'm a socialist, I'm a capitalist. That becomes the motto or agenda or the focal point of your life. It doesn't serve any purpose. It says basically, even in economics theory, they say be a fox, not a hedgehog. Hedgehog means this is what it is, and you will die with that ideology. What purpose does it serve, right? All the philosophies that are floated there, they are a function of time, basically. One formula fits all will not work. People have Marxism because when people start exploiting, right, certain people start hoarding money, they say, let's distribute it equitably amongst people. Let's make it a motto of our life. But when they start doing that, people start having a sense of entitlement. They become lazy. They said, no matter whether we do something or not, we are anyway going to get, because now it is equally being distributed. And that is where socialist Marxist model starts failing, because the humans are humans, right? Even if everybody has to part with their wealth and distribute it equally, ideally that system should work. But why doesn't it work? Because then people start getting complacent. They start becoming lazy. They say, all right, anyway, I'm going to get my money. Nobody's going to fire me from my sarkari job. So let me take it easy in life. And that is where the capitalism kicks in. They say, no, let's incentivize people. Only meritocracy based. People who work hard should be rewarded more than people who work less hard. Then they start bringing in that model. Then what happens? Greed takes over. Some people start hoarding money and then the office politics and those kind of things start, because now you want to cut each other's position, right? So it's again the human tendencies or imperfections that take over, and that model fails as well. So nothing is perfect. So when we are married to something and we make it a motto of our life, we are simply doing the expanded selfishness category we are falling into. It's not a seva sankalp, it's again a calm sankalp that we have taken. Right? So these are the different manifestations of the selfishness or the desires that we form and make it a big deal in our head and the motto of our life. So our scriptures are telling us, be careful around all these traps, basically, because how is it helping our soul? Basically, nothing. So you need to appreciate. That is where flexibility in your mind helps. You appreciate all models have their place, but you cannot get married to something and have that rigidity in your mind. Right? A rigid tree, when the wind blows hard, is uprooted. The flexible tree, it's able to withstand that because it is flexible around it. And that is where our mindsets, as long as they are flexible and it has the big picture in mind, will not fall trap to any of these things and will not fall into The Kama Sankalp and Seva Sankalp is, again, Seva Sankalp can also have two categories. Seva Sankalp is to help others. That is limited to humans. The other Seva Sankalp would be the Karma Yoga aspect of it for the pleasure of God. Then we'll start subscribing to the higher principles. Yes, I can see a couple of other hands.
Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
Swati ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I wanted to say the same thing. It's a calm sankalpa only that they are doing for this community or whatever they are fighting for, religion and caste. This is basically for self-ego. They want to, like, हमारा ये आगे आना चाहिए, हाँ उसको नीचे नहीं, like whatever fights are going on in this everywhere we see. That is basically for their ego or their community. They want to save their community, and for their ego that we are also standing somewhere, like for that motive. So basically intention matters, what intention they are doing, what they are thinking behind doing the work. If they are doing it for others, not for their selfishness or their ego to just satisfy that, then it is like, you can say it falls in the other part. But if they are doing it for their self, then that is calm self. Like saints, what they do is for others' welfare and for others helping. So that will be for Seva Sankalp.
Very true.
So it depends on basically intention.
Beautiful. Very true. And this selfish desires actually takes so many forms. Even in families, you see, we are Thakurs, we are this, we are that, right? And you are willing to do bloodshed on that name. I've studied in Jharkhand, and there, Ranbir Sena and these people, they would just kill each other, under the name of the caste itself. There are killings every year, just under the name of caste. So those are nothing but a manifestation of our expanded desires, where you have taken it beyond your selfish desires up to a bigger level, at a more macro scale. It could be community, it could be caste, it could be nation, it could be religion, it could be region, could be anything. And that is what is actually Kam Sankalp, nothing else. You are just catering to your mind and your senses because it appeals to you. And you've forgotten that our true identity is that of a soul. It's just detrimental for the growth of our soul, simply catering to our senses and mind because we feel good, being from so and so nation, because being from so and so religion, and being from so and so whatever identity we can associate to. Yes, couple of other hands I see.
Asha ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Asha ji.
Radhe Radhe to everyone. मुझे ये लगता है कि हमारी संस्कृति में बेसिक जो है विचारधारा वो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की है. वो नैरो माइंडेडनेस से बहुत ही ऊपर है, विशाल दृष्टि में, कि पूरे सच्चा धर्म, ये जो संप्रदाय और धर्म के जो डिवीजन हुए हैं वो इंसानों ने बनाए, मगर बेसिक जो है वो सच्चा मानव धर्म है और वो किसी भी संकीर्णता से ऊपर है. जब भी आपने ठीक बताया कि हेट्रेड नहीं होना चाहिए, मैं अपने देश के लिए लड़ रहा हूँ, ये जरूरी है, मगर इसके पीछे वो नफरत और हिंसा या प्रेजुडाइज का भाव नहीं होए कि हम सब श्रेष्ठ हैं और दूसरे सभी नीचे हैं. तो ये हमारी संस्कृति से बिल्कुल विरुद्ध है. और जब भी किसी देश का, मुझे तो पर्सनली ये होता है, सबको होता होगा कि नहीं पता नहीं, कि जब आप जो आतंकवादी या किसी भी देश के सोल्जर को खत्म करते हैं तो वो भी मानव है, उनकी भी माएँ बेटों, किसी माँ के बेटे हैं, तो हम लोग जश्न मनाते हैं. तो ये मानवीय धर्म से अलग है, क्योंकि किसी भी माँ के लिए बेटे को खोना ये गलत बात है, मगर ये जरूरी है, आपको करना है देश की रक्षा के लिए, वो कर्मयोग की ड्यूटी है, वो हम समझते हैं. मगर ये जो डिवीजन है वो सबसे ऊपर उठने के साथ हो, मगर ऐसा हो नहीं सकता, क्योंकि हम जो सोचते हैं वो इस दुनिया में पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो मैं समझती हूँ कि ये सब इट्स वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड थिंग्स टू अप्लाई.
वेरी ट्रू. जी, हमने संकीर्ण सोच से ऊपर उठना है. बहुत बहुत सही आपने बताया और बहुत ही सटीक आकलन किया आपने इस विषय पर, तो धन्यवाद उसके लिए. बट हाँ, एंड ऑफ द डे दीज ऑल आर मैनिफेस्टेशंस. वी आर सिंपली catering to our mind and senses or this body, nothing more than that. That is the key message here. And that is where the wise who are enlightened, they rise above that because they burn all these things through the fire of knowledge, is what we are going to discuss. But we fall trapped to all these things. The entire life is gone watching the news channel and talking about the country and thinking about that does not take us, right? We love Modi, which is a good thing, but that doesn't give us a license to hate everybody else, including Imran Khan, right? So the point here is, this is something which is, we have to look at it in perspective, because it is not something that we are entitled to. If you're born in a particular place, God may choose to give us a lesson and put us in a different, country, different situation altogether. We have absolutely no control over it. So let's look at it in perspective that yes, we owe it to it. So we'll do the best that we possibly can, like we do for our, as our bodily dharmas. So country also comes in one of those things. But if we take it too far in our head and make it the focal point agenda of our life, in our day-to-day discussions and channels and everything, then we have taken it too far. We are simply catering to the Kam Sankalp. It's nothing. It's not even Seva Sankalp for that matter. If you're just bringing it in our head for the sake of discussion and feeling good about it. All right. Any other hands that are raised? So tomorrow we are going to discuss it, the other three manifestations of it, which are very important. And I'm sure all of you can relate to it. And scriptures are telling us be cautious about that. Because if you fall into any of these three obsessions, then again, your spiritual journey would be derailed. So we have to start building guardrails around the treacherous and the slippery path, which is there, which just silently slides into our life. We don't even realize it. And before we realize it, it's already there. So scriptures are giving us a mirror and telling us, okay, these are the things we need to be cautious about. Any other questions or any other comments on that? Today, I wanted to focus on this aspect only, tomorrow that, and tomorrow we will conclude it, the other aspect of it, how the Gyanis, they are able to burn it off in the fire of knowledge. They are called enlightened people. They rise above these things. And that is why they are Jivan Mukt, or they reach that state that we all aspire for. These are the don'ts or the things that we need to guard against, which the Gyanis, they rise above through proper knowledge. They're able to burn off all these things and get over those as opposed to getting stuck in these like a lot of us do. Yes, Swatiji, you wanted to add something?
There's also one more question in the chat box. Shri Ramya ji is asking, what about celebrating when you're supporting cricket team or football team wins? Is that also selfishness? But then sportsmanship spirit is also important. We cheer for our country in Olympics.
True, we do that. I do that all the times. I'm very happy when India won the World Cup, right? Happens, but yeah, I mean, it is what? It is Kam Sankalp only. It's helping our body, and it is fine. This is one of those things in our life that we do. I need to get rid of that as well. When I want to do, okay, let me do Radhe Radhe, and then all of a sudden India-Pakistan cricket match comes up, there's always that tendency, let me play it and watch it. So eventually we will get over that as well. But right now, let's continue having that entertainment for as long as, we think it is important for us. But yeah, I mean, that is fine. But if the point here is, we should not make it nothing should be born out of hatredness here. But end of the day, all these things that we do, they are only Kam Sankalp, right? How is it helping our soul, if you think about it? We need entertainment, and that is why we are doing it, right? Similar thing, people get entertainment when they talk about politics or their country and things like that. What else are they engaging in? Nothing. It's a Kam Sankalp only. And senses. We are just doing it for our senses. Mind being our sense as well, one of the senses as well, right? But great question. Was it from Anusha?
Shri Ramya ji.
Oh, Shri Ramya ji. Yeah, true. Yeah. Even I love watching India-Pakistan matches and really celebrate. In my mind, okay, may not be externally so much, but yeah, I really like when India wins.
Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I want to say something else, not related to this Seva and all. Maharaj's video, what I have listened many times, he says that we should not see anything in anybody like ye asur hai, ye manushya hai, ye animal hai. They don't. The Mahapurush don't discriminate between anybody. They see as the soul. as soul is that God resides in everybody's soul. So even bhoot bhi aate hai, so many times Maharaj Ji has also helped them. So he doesn't discriminate that bhoot hai, so we should hate them. So he is trying to help each and every soul. They basically see soul, not the body outer covering, whether it is bhoot yoni, it is asur yoni. So that is what we should also think, that everybody has that soul. He is not that on the religion that he is Muslim, he is Hindu, he is. We should not discriminate on the caste or religion or anything. We should just see his soul and try to help them. That is what I have learned from Maharaj Ji.
True, beautiful point. Yeah, so there are different avasthas, right? One is the Paramhans avastha. Paramhans avastha is where they only see milk, only divinity, right? Like Babri San, Ghatu Sham temple in Rajasthan. When he saw the Mahabharata war, Krishna asked him, "What did you see?" He said, "I only saw you, Krishna fighting Krishna and Krishna everywhere." That is the Paramhans avastha, where you only see milk. Second is the Hans avastha, lower than that, where you are able to pick the milk and leave the water. Pick the milk, focus on the milk, leave the water. That is Hans. And then they say, okay, we are not Paramhans, we are not Hans, but then at least see the good in people. When you meet somebody, see the good in them. And if you can't even do that, don't at least see the bad in them. So it's a hierarchy defined for us. So until we reach the Paramhans avastha, we have to at least not focus on the bad of people or focus on the good of people, or see God in them, divinity on them, or see good divinity everywhere. So those are the different stages. Until we reach Paramhans, the least we can do is not see bad in others. And that extends to even patriotism as well, right? Patriotism is fine. You feel good about your country and your culture and all that stuff, which is fine, but that doesn't mean you feel negative about others, that they are, nothing and all that stuff. Who gives us a license to be born in the same religion the next time? Nobody does. Right? There shouldn't be sense of entitlement there. Yes, Samji?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Samji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. I missed a few discussions. Please tell me, what did it boil down to finally? Is my understanding right? There is Kam Sankalp and Seva Sankalp. Under each of them, there is concentrated and extended, under both.
Yeah, right? So concentrated, it's a Kam Sankalp. The Seva Sankalp is an under expanded, because you've already gone beyond your self-interest.
Okay.
And then within Kam Sankalp, and for both the Sankalps, I had shown that you need the 4 potencies. We'll revisit those tomorrow. Yes. Right. So the Kam Sankalp is for your own self, where you think you are the center of the universe, right? And where you're concentrated. And in the expanded one, you start extending it to your family, your caste, your religion, your country, and whatnot. You keep on expanding, but it still falls under Kam Sankalp only. Okay. Because you are catering to your mind and senses only. Nothing doing for the soul here, right? Soul is not even coming into the equation here. You are thinking yourself as a body, and all you are doing is what appeals to your mind, senses, and all that stuff. Nothing else.
Oh, okay.
Right.
If we do something for others, body and senses,
it is called Seva Sankalp. If you do it for others, it is called Seva Sankalp. Now, Seva Sankalp.
That is not extended selfishness. No.
It is. If you look at it, it is part of extended selfishness only, because if you are doing that Seva Sankalp not for God, then also you are feeling good about it, right? For yourself. Okay. So Seva Sankalp is better than your Kam Sankalp, but still not perfect, unless you have directed it towards God.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. You got the entire summary in 2 minutes, which is wonderful. Okay. So for a change, today we will finish on time, unless somebody has any question or any mark around it. Tomorrow we will discuss the 3 obsessions we need to guard against. And then we will conclude with basically the fire of knowledge helps us rise above these and to start seeing things in perspective. So next time we get embroiled in a conversation or a deep discussion about something in politics and all, remind yourself it is nothing but a Kam Sankalp, which is not at all useful for our mind, the upliftment of our soul at all. It is just a time pass, nothing more than that we are indulging in. And people give big arguments, go back in history and this and that. All right, that is fine. How does it help our journey, spiritual journey as such? All we are indulging in is just catering to our senses, mind, and building a false sense of pride around something that we may or may not be entitled to in our next lives. So got to look at it in perspective. Yes, Shamji.
Shamji, Radhe Radhe. Unable to unmute.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, Shamji, now you can speak.
Yes, now I can speak also.
Okay.
I was mute. Yeah, just normal thought. So normally I see only bad in people. I'm a good critic. Whenever I speak, whenever I see, whenever I meet a person, instead of seeing the good in that person, I first do X-ray and just do the negative things out, and then I react. I do not know how far I will go with this. I try to change.
Samji is not happy. Samji is not happy with, she's given a very angry smiley here on this one.
Yeah. That's the way. It's okay. That's what I want from.
So if you are a doctor, no, if you are a teacher, or if you are I think teacher, doctor, lawyer, they have a right to find faults. If you are in none of those professions, not dealing with your client, then typically we should not have a mindset. It can become a mindset. Then you're looking. So the problem with that is when you dwell upon others' mistakes and bad things, those mistakes will start getting housed in you as well. Whatever we focus on, the law is that thing starts coming in us as well. So we got to be careful about it.
I know those all things, but then I do not know. Somehow I try to change. I try to convince my own self, but at times I'm able to do. But most of the time, that's the way. I guess I've been living life entirely like this, and now I need to change it also.
I think with a lot of hard work, you acquired this practice, and with a lot of hard work, you can dismantle this practice as well. So you'll have to probably do reverse chintan around it. So I think we can break that habit, but it becomes a mindset after a while for sure. But we need to break that if we are sincere about our spiritual growth, because we are putting dirt in our mind. See, look at a kid. Can a kid make out this guy is doing something hanky panky or doing no, right? Why? Because they don't have it inside them. So we have to become. Spirituality is about becoming just like that, clear like a kid. And we have, got so much of baggage that we have to unload and clear off in our heads. So the kids are not able to make out if somebody is doing some 400 BC. Why? Because they don't have it inside them. They're so bhola bhala, right? Only when you have it, you are able to relate to that. So when there are two signs, when we see faults in others, one is a sure shot sign of pride. That's what Maharaj Swamiji explained. And second is that you also have a trace of that problem in you. Then that is the reason you are able to relate to it. It's a very deep concept. When I heard it for the first time, I said, well, really? So two things. One is your pride is talking. Second is you also have that iota of that in you for you to be able to relate to that. Kid cannot, because he doesn't have that. Just think about it. It's a very deep concept.
Maybe in some ways you're right. And second thing, I have seen that of lately our group has gone down. I do not know. Earlier we were about 110, 120, but now of lately I'm seeing we are hovering around 75, 80. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I think things happen when people take, so maybe a few more important things come, or maybe I need to increase the entertainment quotient or something, but it keeps on fluctuating. So I think it's part of that, right? Swamiji said, right, when he started ISKCON, he used to see 20 people will come, but 15 will leave. So 2 or 3. So it's part of it. I think it keeps on fluctuating, goes up and down. But what I'm seeing is about 60, 70 are rock solid participants that I've seen consistently, which is pretty commendable, right? Reading consistently, it's a pretty good, amazing feat, I would say, from that sense.
Yes, you are there from beginning. So that's a good thing for us.
I've been consistent, one of the consistent people for sure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Radhe, thank you. All right.
There are more hands.
Please do fill out the feedback tracker as well if you would like to see more of or hear more of something. That will give me some idea of what better we can prepare and present here as well. So please do fill out feedback tracker. It's a great way to keep that communication going as well. Yes, Jonji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe Radhe. Actually, I was gonna comment on Sham's observation about himself, but you covered it, Nitinji. Because that's what I was gonna say is that when we see faults in others, it's because those faults actually we carry those traits and we don't, and because of our pride, we don't recognize it, and we're quick to see it in others. But then again, and that's true. I've heard that, and I've actually learned to believe that as well. But then again, there are some people who are just downright miserable, and that's because they're miserable to others, and that's because their own life is miserable. Like I can give an example. I know of an individual. She does a lot of seva and everything like that, but she is very critical of everybody. She's always like everybody's doing everything wrong. And it used to bother me a lot. Like she's never happy. And then it dawned on me that's because she's not happy with her own life. Two separate things, right? It's because she herself wasn't happy. And so she was taking that out on others and finding fault on others. I'm not saying, Shamji, you're not happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just making a distinction that, there are two things we need to look at, right? So whether you're happy, how you look at yourself, and that's how you see things. You see things through your lens, right? And so it will take practice, but you will get there. You will get there. The first step is recognizing that you are seeing negativity in others or you're finding fault in others. And we have no right to find fault in others. Everybody have their own journey to live. We should not find fault in others. And it's easier said than done. So I don't want to belabor the point. And the other thing is, you made a comment about the attendance. My observation, yeah, it is going down, but it could be that people are now, travel is open up, people are on vacation or for whatever reason. So I will take it with a grain of salt that it will come and go. It will fluctuate, that people probably have different commitments, things happening, because sometimes I'm not able to attend because I have a commitment. So just saying that.
Yes, Jonji, very true. Good points. Let's hear from Ajit ji and Swati ji. Before that, I wanted to make quick announcements before. So we have the yoga festival coming up. Please do sign up for that. We have a very impressive cast of speakers who are going to come up and keynote speech from Swamiji as well. So do check it out and do register if you've not already done that. And the family camp, can't reiterate it more. It's the best time of the year, so do sign up for that. Everything is available virtual as well, which is good. You can always catch up with Swamiji's lesson. I think it's given at a pretty throwaway price at this point, the online ones. So do check it out and do sign up for it, I would say. Strongly encourage you to avail this beautiful opportunity. All right, anything else, Sandhya, you had before?
Yeah, I mean, just to say that links to all of these are put in the chat, so you can register from there, and feedback tracker is there. So in case there's anything which is not discussed or you want that to be discussed, please put it in the feedback tracker.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, Ajit ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Ajit ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Actually, opposite to the pride is the humbleness. We learn from the spirituality. But nowadays, you see, there is a target killing in the Kashmir, and whole community has to migrate from one place to another place. And that is how the other people are getting dominating. So this is another phenomena happening in the society. If you keep your eyes closed, they will consider that you are coward. So opposite to the pride is the humbleness. Humbleness is a good quality, virtue to imbibe. But I don't know, in the society, other way around, the people are taking advantage of it as well. So what do you see?
Spirituality tells us to be humble, but it doesn't tell it at the same time, it gives us a license to protect yourself through the rightful means. And there's a beautiful story about Narad ji in our scriptures, I think, that it was telling a snake. So the snake, it was expanding its hood and hissing, and the kids were playing. So it took the humility, like, okay, I don't need to do that. And after a while, the kids squished him to pulp. So the humility doesn't mean you don't take the rightful means to protect yourself. The snake could have continued to hiss without biting people, right? And when it is needed, like in case of Mahabharata also, Krishna himself told him to lift the weapons. So those are the things where it is. But then when you make it a focal point of your life to kill people, be the aggressor, have hatred, that is not recommended. So obviously we have to take both in hand.
You cannot dig the water when there is a fire. You have to prepare since beginning.
Very beautiful quotation. Yeah.
Radhe, Radhe.
We can't dig a well when the house is on fire, and that is where spirituality, when the going is easy, we build all those things. Not when all of a sudden our world has fallen apart, we can't bring spirituality, start building spirituality at that point. So when the times are good, that's where we need to invest time wisely. Beautiful point. Thank you so much. Last one we can take real quick.
Yeah, Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Swati ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Shyamji just talked about this fault finding. I just want to add 2 lines to this. That in fault finding, it's like Maharaj ji say, it is a defect. It is your disease. So you're in a disease state. Instead of finding fault in others, you try to find that fault in me. He is better than me. Who am I to judge him? I am more faulty. I have many faults in myself. If you try to think this way, you'll not try to find fault in others. और फिर हम लोग सोचे कि नहीं कुछ तो अच्छा होगा उसमें, कितना भी बुरा हो. Try to find something good in that. In that way, you will always try to find good in everybody. In worst condition also, like when we say the best part of it, like this is for my spiritual growth. So we are seeing positivity. In same way, if you see in the other person, something good is there. You can find the least in good in them.
True.
So God has made everybody, and so everybody is perfect. So if you think like this, that God has made him, so he is perfect. I am at fault. Something is fault in me, and I am defective. This way, I am diseased person. If I think fault finding in others.
True. And another way of his Krishna is sitting in that person, and he's testing me. So I'm not going to fall trap to it, right? There are a lot of ways to actually tell yourself, and our human tendencies, if somebody is having 8 virtues and 2 faults, our mind will go to 2 faults, right? And we need to get out of that mindset. That is how it's meant to be. So this fault finding tendencies is not good. And it's, if you think about it, we are all in the jail, right? Had we been exceptionally good people, we would have been on a different place. We are all in a conditioned basically state and in a jail together. It's just like one prisoner is finding fault with us. You know what? Your crime is much bigger than mine. I'm a better person than you are. 19-20 का फर्क है हम सब में. And we can focus on the good part of it. That is good for our spiritual journey, as opposed to having that mindset of finding faults around.
Rahul ji says, Sham is sitting in everyone's heart.
Very true. They're sitting in everybody's heart. Great. Let's do our closing prayer.
Asha ji has raised hand.
Yes, Asha ji, real quick. Then we can do our closing for the day.
Just to add this discussion, किसी में भी nobody is perfect in this world except God. तो दूसरों के जो फॉल्ट हमें दिखते हैं, तो वो जैसे कि पहले कहा गया कि अच्छी बातें उसमें ढूंढिए. अगर आप कनेक्टेड है उस पर्सन से, और अगर कनेक्टेड नहीं है, अच्छी बातें ढूंढेंगे और उसको एनकरेज करेंगे, मोटिवेट करेंगे अच्छी बातें बाहर लाने के लिए, तो वो धीरे धीरे अच्छी बातों की तरफ वो पर्सन आ जाएगा. और प्रे कीजिए उसके लिए कि उसके घृणा मत कीजिए, नफरत मत कीजिए कि ये हम श्रेष्ठ हैं, मगर उसके लिए प्रे कीजिए कि ये इन सब चीजों से बाहर निकल आए. और अपने आप को सूक्ष्म अहंकार से भी अलग रखना होगा, क्योंकि हम ये कर सकते हैं तो ये सब thing will be spoiled when that pride will enter in your mind. But we can do, and अपने तो सबसे पहले वो अपने फॉल्ट तो ढूंढने ही पड़ेंगे, और उससे धीरे धीरे निकालने का प्रयत्न डेली स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में होना ही चाहिए. अदरवाइज एवरीथिंग इज इन वेन. थैंक यू.
सूक्ष्म अहंकार से हमें अपने को पृथक रखना पड़ेगा. बहुत सही कहा आपने. या दूसरों के फॉल्ट ढूंढने, इट्स लाइक व्हेन वी हैव सो मच ऑफ होमवर्क टू डू, वुड वी वरी अबाउट समबडी एल्स होमवर्क? I mean, logically speaking, when we have so much work to do on ourselves, only a stupid person would worry about others' homework. other way of looking at it. So yeah, Maharaj says that we should always focus on our own deficiencies and keep improving in those. That is the fastest way of, improving spiritually as well, as opposed to finding faults in people and things around you. That will remain anyways, right? How does that help us? Nothing. Okay.
Sri Ramya ji has also just quickly sent a message for Shyamji. I think seeing faults is okay, but to not judge them for their faults and accepting entirety of person with faults is good.
Samji, so much of advice for you today. For all of us, I should say. Thank you for bringing it up. I think we all suffer from that to varying degrees. That's how I say. You opened up, which elicited a good conversation. So thank you for that. Okay, we can do our closing prayers then. Who wants to volunteer for that? All right, go ahead, please.
Swati ji has also raised hand and unmute her.
Sure, can go together.
Yep. Okay. Om Sarve
Bhavantu Sukhinah
Sarve
Sarve
Niramaya Sarve
Bhadrani Pashyantu
Ma Kaschit
Dukha Bhagya Bhaviti.
Om Shanti
Shanti.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day, great rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow then. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.